Hey guys, this is Amber O'Neill Johnston from Heritage Mom, just stepping on today to chat a little bit. I recently recorded a video, which I'll link here, where I spoke about, we were talking about Charlotte Mason education, and I said something to the effect of, there being times where I think it's okay for our children to read twaddle. And boy, y'all did not like that. There were a few of you who reached out to me to let me know just how much you did not like that I said that. The funny thing is that I've said that before. I've written it and I've said it before, but I guess this was for the first time for some people. So just to back up a little, let's see what Charlotte Mason herself said. She said, speaking about children, they must grow up upon the best. There must never be a period in their lives when they are allowed to read or listen to twaddle or reading made easy. There is never a time when they are unequal to worthy thoughts. Well put, inspiring tales, well told. That's from volume 2, page 263, I believe. I didn't write the page number. 263, I think. So, yeah, I know that she said that. It's important. And I agree with her. I believe that. Just to help frame a little bit of how I ended up feeling that sometimes I'm going to let my kids read twaddle anyway, and maybe you should too. I live in Georgia, and there's a law in Georgia, if all of the seatbelts in your vehicle are taken, you can put a car seat in the front passenger seat. And so they would rather for you to put a car seat in the front passenger seat than for you to let the child be without a seatbelt. So if you have children and car seats in all of your seats, you can put a car seat up there. Is that ideal? No, I don't think any of us would normally put a car seat in the front passenger seat. But they recognize that in some cases, all the seatbelts are taken, and that's the safest possible thing for that child. And so, why I know this feels so abstract, but that happened to me once. So I had my own children and I was babysitting for a friend, never planned to leave the house, and we had an emergency and I needed to pack up all of the kids, and I put a child in the front passenger seat in a car seat. Is that ideal? No. Did I plan to do that? No. Do I want to even do that? No, but I had to do that. I had to do that, and it was the safest option for all the children in my care. So when it comes to living books, I would like for my children to read living books all the time. I would love for them to not have twaddle or not read twaddle. Although I will admit that I'm not as sensitive about it as a lot of people are. I mean, a little something here or there to brighten up their little happy day. To me, it's like candy. I don't want my kids to just eat candy, and it's not something they have a lot of. But yes, like, honey, you can have a piece of candy sometimes. It's okay. That's how I feel about it. So I do have a more relaxed feeling in general, but I see that as something that's very occasional. But in some cases, there are certain things that my children long to see in their literary lives. And it is very difficult and sometimes even impossible, it has been for me, to find living books that represent those things. And I have decided that in some of those cases, it's more important for my children to see those representations in their literature than it is for me to um, prioritize the ideal that Charlotte Mason set before us. That doesn't mean I disagree with it. It means that I haven't found a way to reach that pinnacle, if you want to call it, for my family and still focus on the emotional health and well-being of my children, which is more important to me than adhering to perfectly to Charlotte Mason's words. So, we could all imagine if she was here, if she were here, what would she say? And I don't know what she would say, but what I would say to her is that my children have grandparents that come and visit, they have a puppy that they play with. My kids like to go fishing. My kids would love to see someone like themselves getting lost in a museum or going on a wild adventure. My kids would love to put a pig in a contest for 4-H in a story, or to see someone like themselves doing that. My kids have parents who love them and sleepovers with cousins. Um, and my kids have imaginations that match the imaginations of everyone else's children. And my kids would like to see children like them having some of the wildest adventures and fantasies, solving mysteries and exploring many, many different types of lands, real and imaginary. Um, and a lot of times, those stories are difficult to find as living literature as we have like commonly defined it, as what I think Charlotte Mason intended. And that doesn't even mean if we get into like living books being classics, but I don't believe those two are the same exact thing. I think a lot of people in the Charlotte Mason world have tried to make those be the same exact thing. But even aside from that, I'm not even talking about classics. I'm just talking about the rich vocabulary, the narrative quality, the ideas presented in the book, in the books. So I am not here to say, yes, everybody, who cares what Charlotte said? Twaddle it is. Let's do it. Let's have a twaddle parade. No, what I said, and I was speaking to an audience of people whose children are different than a lot of the kids around them, much like my children. So they were mostly neurodiverse, some physically different than other children around them. And if you don't have a kid like that, it's hard. It's hard to tell your kid, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you read, or I'm not going to provide for you any books that you're craving or that help you feel seen or important or valued, because the vocabulary that these books have, or the whatever, it's too goody goody, and it's very titillating, and quite honestly, honey, it's just not the quality of literature that I seek for you. So just stuff your feelings in and go on be feeling invisible, and I'll catch up with you on the back end when you're an adult and we can work it out. I'm not comfortable doing that. So for those of you that wrote me and didn't understand why I said that, I hope that this helps a little bit. I value my children's emotional health over adhering perfectly to what Charlotte Mason said. And I know what she said. And I don't disagree. I think she's right. But unfortunately, I just don't have all of the options that you may have for your children. So be thankful if your kids can see themselves so easily in so many pieces of beautiful living literature. And I would suggest that rather than us arguing with each other within the Charlotte Mason community, that we take that energy and put it towards the publishing world and working to support authors who are writing diverse, inclusive stories that are also living and beautiful, that we speak with our dollars, stand behind books when they do come out, pre-order them, let authors know that we are ready and waiting for them to write these beautiful stories. So rather than bicker and nitpick with each other, let's look and say there is something that our community needs, right? And even if you're white, your kids need these books too. They're mirrors for my children, but they're windows for your kids. Your kids, all of our kids need them. So let's become activists and let's get the living books that we need so that we won't even need to have this conversation. But in the meantime, I'm going to stand behind what I said. And to those of you who have children who are longing to see themselves, and not just in stories of trial and tragedy dripping in trauma, but in fun, in beautiful things, and you've exhausted the handful of living books in those cases that you've found. If you need to dip your toe into twaddle to help your child feel um, valued and seen and loved, then you should do it. And I don't know, we don't give gold stars in Charlotte Mason world, but I'll give you a gold star anyway. And I'll just tell you that I'm proud of you because it's hard to stand up and be the small minority of people in a large sea of people who feel very strongly but don't have little black and brown baby faces looking up to them, who don't have neurodiverse children who want to know that someone thought they were worth writing about. So thank you for your time. I'm gonna get off now before I start crying. But I always welcome you guys to nicely, kindly, respectfully reach out to me if you think I said something that ruffled your feathers. But I do also want to let you know, for the few people who reached out to me, there were so many more people who thanked me for that message. So you just have to know that while this might seem like to you, and you can't believe that Amber would say this, and oh, that's just not legitimate Charlotte Mason, and you would never do it. You have to know that there are a lot of people who needed to hear me say that, and there are a lot of us who are having to do extraordinary things in these extraordinary times. So I'll talk to you guys again.